unusual is this for an entire country, and here we're talking about two countries, to lose power like this?
On this scale, it is very unusual.
Well, good afternoon. Portugal's national grid operator says that a rare atmospheric phenomenon is behind a major power outage that's affected large parts of that country as well as Spain.
Here we go. In Britain this week, I couldn't believe it. They have announced, the British government has announced they're spending £50 million on experiments to dim the sun using chemical trails in the air to combat climate. You couldn't make it up, but they're doing it.
Britain? What country? What country? The sun-soaked land of what?
Welcome back. Power is almost fully restored to Spain after a massive blackout that impacted millions. The power outage yesterday affected large parts of both Spain and Portugal. It grounded flights, created chaos for public transportation, and left many without phone and internet coverage.
Made billions out of creating super clunky corporate software. What you didn't realize is that Bill Gates doesn't think of himself that way. Bill Gates doesn't think of himself as some guy who got super rich making bad software. Bill Gates thinks of himself as God, in control of the solar system. And that's why Bill Gates is now backing something called sun-dimming technology that would reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, causing global cooling.
British scientists are launching a £40 million government-funded geoengineering experiment to literally test dimming the sun in the name of solving climate change. The government's Advanced Research and Invention Agency, or ARIA, aims to block sunlight reaching the Earth's surface with projects that include spraying aerosols in the atmosphere to make clouds brighter, which will then reflect sunshine. What could go wrong? If successful, ARIA thinks the plan could temporarily reduce surface temperatures, which would then give humans more time to reduce carbon emissions.
Bill Gates thinks he's in charge of the planet. What should we be worried about here?
I mean, basically everything. I mean, when I first heard about this over 2 decades ago, this was a thought experiment. But this is real. They're really trying to do this. They've encountered opposition every step of the way.
In America, British plans to block the sun have even caught the attention of Donald Trump's White House. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the US Secretary of Health and Human Services, tweeted just a few days ago, "We'll soon end this crime against humanity and our planet and bring justice to the plutocrats who are perpetuating this mass uncontrolled experiment."
I've co-authored articles with the Harvard investigator. We've told him personally this is a terrible idea. The vast majority of scientists disagree with this. You have to remember what they're proposing to do is identical to what we feared would occur after nuclear war in the 1980s, which is nuclear winter. The idea is that you cool the planet deliberately. The effects on crops are completely unknown. They call this an experiment, but they know that there is no way to figure out what the large-scale planetary effects of this kind of thing would be. It's grossly irresponsible. They know for a fact that they will never get international agreement on this. So they're basically trying to socialize the idea, normalize the idea, make us comfortable with an idea that should make us extremely uncomfortable.
A lot of people are starting to notice that we've had really strange weather phenomena in the last couple weeks. It all started when people began recording and reporting red lightning all over the sky. According to scientists, this red lightning, also known as red sprites, has always been around, but people are still finding it strange, seeing as how it came out of almost nowhere. On New Year's Eve, lightning struck the US Capitol, the Washington Monument, and the Empire State Building. And although lightning does typically strike high points, some people believe that all three of these buildings being struck on the same day is more than a coincidence. To top it all off, people all over the UK, Canada, and the US are reporting a very dense and mysterious fog. What's really strange is that the people recording it claim that the fog is giving off a very metallic smell, as well as giving them headaches, a cough, and sickness in general after encountering it. This has led to multiple theories. While some believe that the fog was purposely implemented to cover up something in the sky, others believe that nanoparticles or smart dust has been sprayed. But leave a like and let me know what you think about all this. Have you encountered this fog, and do you think it's suspicious?
The Rockefeller Rothschild factions, they all want global government. What they're not agreed upon is, number one, who gets to run it, because they all want to get to run it. And the closer they get to their goal, the more they start fighting each other, which, sit back and have your popcorn, folks, and enjoy the show, because that's exactly what we're watching right now. Everybody wants to run it. But the other thing they're disagreed on is not only who gets to run it, but how they're going to get there. The Rockefellers have always wanted to obtain their goal through technological dominance. The Rothschilds have taken the view to achieve global dominance, you must dominate and have controlling interest in all hard assets, land, resources, and so on. And that's the crucial difference between the Rockefeller faction and the Rothschild faction.
I'm getting a video. There's this huge thing making a re-entry right now. Huge fireball up in the sky. That's actually sick. It's just leaving a trail across the sky.
These spiritual beings, such as Baal and Moloch, which they still do ceremonies for today, such as in Bohemian Grove, there is a giant effigy, stone effigy of an owl. That's the god Moloch. The god Moloch goes all the way back to Rome and Carthage, in which they were offering sacrifices to this god in exchange for power. And then they will do your bidding, but you end up paying a terrible price for it. You end up losing your soul. And in fact, the groups that work with these entities invariably end up being destroyed, and that is written right into their symbolism, the symbol of the eagle. The original American bird was not the eagle. Benjamin Franklin wanted to be the phoenix. The phoenix is the symbol of the cabal. Why? Because the cabal must be burned to ashes, seems to be completely destroyed, but it keeps arising and reincarnating from the ashes. It comes back. So part of their religious belief is that in order to get their New World Order, they must be publicly exposed, they must, for their beliefs, they will appear to be wiped out, and they actually believe that these extraterrestrial gods that they've been contracting with all these centuries are going to return, and they will be glorified. They will return in light bodies, and they will actually now be the rulers of the earth. So this is part of their religious belief.
A conspiracy theory that you cannot believe people do not talk about, because mine is the plane of jars, and this isn't just some boring old monolithic ancient civilization that was super advanced. This is actually insane that people do not know about this. This is by far one of the weirdest things the US government has ever done, and I can't figure out why. First and foremost, there's a massive field in the country of Laos that is littered with these guys, these massive stone jars. Some of them have lids, and when I say massive, I mean 9 feet tall, 20, 30 tons in weight. And the weirdest part is not that there is a local legend telling of a race of giants who won a victorious battle over the land and then created these stone jars to make celebratory drinks. It's actually something called Operation Barrel Roll, which was a covert CIA mission. While most of the country was distracted by the war in Vietnam, the US government dropped more ordnance on Laos than all of World War II combined, and one of its primary targets was this field of jars. To give you a little perspective, that's over 2 million tons, or on average a plane load full, released every 8 minutes, 24 hours a day, for almost 10 years straight. I cannot for the life of me figure out why the US government would go to such great lengths to smash a bunch of giant jars in a field to bits. So if you have literally any ideas or conspiracy theories on this topic, I would love to talk about it, because no one else is talking about this, and it's kind of driving me nuts.
Remember back in the 1930s when archaeologists found an Egyptian temple buried in eastern Tennessee? That's okay, not a lot of people do. But back in 1934, they were building something called Norris Dam, just north of Knoxville, Tennessee. The Tennessee Valley Authority started surveying the valley that the Norris Dam was going to flood. They found many native mounds and started excavating a bit, and found some really extraordinary things. As they started digging, they found layer after layer, and went down over 20 foot until they found a 100-foot by 100-foot platform with a large raised area in the center. They called this a temple. As they dug deeper and deeper, they found multiple skeletons on the site, unlike any that they'd found in the area. And the site itself kept getting deeper and deeper. It appeared to just keep going. At the time, it caused quite an uproar, and over 400 workers were excavating that site. They found multiple relics that were unlike anything they had seen in the area, including a pigment box that held a shade of purple that could only be found in sea mollusks and was completely unknown in North America. The site gained the attention of James Randall Harris, a professor of ancient languages from Cambridge, and later Johns Hopkins University. Harris came up with some very interesting conclusions. And I quote, "The Hopewell," he writes, "were latecomers who raised the mounds of earth over a much older temple built by pharaonic Egyptian emigres to the most important deities, Isis, the Queen of Heaven, and her husband, Osiris, the god of resurrection." I have his book on order, as well as the 400-page book on the excavation from the Smithsonian, so I'll undoubtedly be speaking about this more in a future video. But for now, that area has some very interesting correspondences with legends from the Cherokee. The Cherokee have legends about a group of priesthood that lived in their area called the Anikutani. This priesthood was wiped out. Now I'm going to read this directly from a historical source, so you know it's not my words. Quote, "From Cherokee Principal Chief Charles Hicks in 1826 in his manuscript, The History of the Cherokee People, the mound builders were greatly weakened by a plague. We entered the North Carolina mountains from the west, and we killed and drove off the mound builders. We burned their temples atop the mounds and then constructed our towns and houses on the mounds. The Cherokee never built any mounds." Further on, quote, "The Anikutani profess themselves, as stated by the traditioners, to be the teachers of heavenly knowledge from the creation, and the manner of their introduction to the assembled people is usually at night. And they usually came with the words, 'I am from above.' The name was a foreign word to the Cherokee. The Katani came to mean somebody who starts a fire or a sorcerer." These tales all come from the area of eastern Tennessee, right where that temple is, and that temple is now under a lake.
Well, you can't make this up. Klaus Schwab is out at the World Economic Forum, and who do they just slide in as an interim chairman? The new head of the WEF is a former CEO of Nestle. His name is Peter Brabeck-Letmathy. I don't even have to say his name. How would you say that? Brabeck-Letmathy? What a name. Look at this guy, though. Here he is. This is literally the new head of the WEF. I mean, and yeah, like everyone's like, well, what is going on with this weird, like bloody eyeball? And he does look a lot like Le Chiffre, doesn't he? From Casino Royale with the bloody dripping eye. Reminds me of this Bond villain easily.
Hello, I'm Peter Brabeck, the chairman of Nestle. There are apparently some misconceptions about my ideas on water. Let me make it clear from the beginning. I have always supported the human right to water. Everyone should have enough clean, safe water to meet their fundamental daily needs. About 50 to 100 liters per day. But not to fill a pool or wash a car. There is a difference. We must transform the way we think about water. By 2025, 1.8 billion people will be living in regions without enough water. Water scarcity is the greatest challenge we face today. And we need to start recognizing water as a precious resource.
So this new guy, though, believes that water is not a human right, but a commodity to be sold and owned by the likes of Nestle. This is the same guy who argued that filling up your pool or washing your car shouldn't be a personal choice. Why? Because some unelected global body should actually be in charge of how much water you're allowed to use per day, you know, for the greater good.
The World Economic Forum has confirmed they're investigating former chairman Klaus Schwab after his seemingly abrupt resignation on Monday.
An anonymous whistleblower sent a letter to the organization and accused Schwab of misusing forum funds and resources. The Wall Street Journal first reported the news.
The letter also criticized the forum's workplace culture and governance. The journal writes it included allegations that Klaus Schwab asked junior employees to withdraw thousands of dollars from ATMs on his behalf and used forum funds to pay for private in-room massages at hotels. It's always massages at hotels. This alleges that his wife, Hilda, a former forum employee, scheduled token forum-funded meetings in order to justify luxury holiday travel at the organization's expense.
Schwab and his wife have denied all allegations, and Schwab plans on filing a lawsuit against whomever wrote it. Schwab is a proponent of the Great Reset, which is essentially a reshaping of the world order that involves things like ESG initiatives and stakeholder economies. Swedish journalist Peter Emanuelsson wrote on X, quote, "A whistleblower claimed that Klaus Schwab used the World Economic Forum funds to pay for massages at hotels and for luxury holidays. Meanwhile, he was yelling, 'You'd eat the bugs and live in a pod to save the environment.'"
former Nestle CEO Peter Brabeck-Latmeth is now the interim chairman. This is a topic that I know a lot of our viewers are very interested in, very critical. We've been in the past of the World Economic Forum, and kind of I'm suspicious of global governance bodies. Here in America, we have protections for speech and gun rights and other things that are not common in other countries, even in advanced democracies like Europe. So I don't want Europeans coming up with laws that contradict what our important Constitution has to say about our rights.
On parle de puces qu'on pourra s'implanter. Ce sera quand ça?
Certainement dans les 10 années à venir. Et d'abord, on va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans nos topos. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital. Ce que nous voyons, c'est une sorte de fusion du monde physique, digital et biologique.
On appelle quelqu'un, on n'a même plus le réflexe de devoir prendre un appareil, ça se fait naturellement. Hein. La technique continue le corps.
Oui, vous parlez et vous dites, je veux maintenant être connecté avec n'importe qui. Et d'abord, vous avez les robots personnalisés. Et j'ai vu que M. Zuckerberg a prédit qu'à la fin de l'année, il va avoir son robot, son butler personnalisé qui est à sa disposition.
Donc, comme dans Downton Abbey, on aura son butler personnel, son serviteur, son esclave.
Oui, mais il y a une différence. C'est un serviteur qui, avec l'intelligence artificielle, apprend et qui n'est pas seulement votre assistant pour des travaux manuels, qui peut vraiment être un partenaire intellectuel.
Therefore, water should be better managed, should be better valued, and has to be better preserved.
Yeah.
By who is my question.
Right.
He has some points. Absolutely. That's
yeah, it is
true.
a precious. Absolutely, it's precious.
Right.
But as President Trump pointed out a few months ago, obviously when dealing with everything that was going on in Maui, is that we have too much water. We have a lot of it. We have a lot of water. It's just being misused and not being
Nestle
used correctly.
Is a company that steals water.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you some details. Yeah.
What did Philip just say? What was your last sentence?
Oh, I was just saying that's the guy we want in charge of like everything, I guess. The World Economic Forum, like that's going to go well.
Right.
Well, also Kamala Harris, you recall, I don't know if you guys remember this.
I remember.
She told us, remember, the next war is not going to be like a kinetic war in the traditional sense. The next war, it won't be over oil. It'll actually be over water. Watch.
And here's the other thing, because I also, I'm in a lot of meetings on foreign policy. For years and generations, wars have been fought over oil. In a short matter of time, they will be fought over water. So when we think about building up our economy around our infrastructure on something like water policy, it's literally about jobs. It's about the fundamental source of life that Tammy Duckworth was talking about. It will sustain life. And it's about strengthening up our nation. So